Last week's video sparked a huge conversation. So many of you shared with me how Hekate found you during your hardest moments, the times where you felt invisible and misunderstood. But why is that? Why does Hekate reach out to those on the edges of society? So today I'm going to share some reasons why Hekate has always been known as the protector of the marginalized and disenfranchised, and why she's calling out to so many of us right now. We are living in really chaotic times. There's a lot of political upheaval, social divides, and spiritual awakenings are happening. All of this is happening at the same time. But here's the thing. When the world is at its most unstable, Hekate is at her strongest. Throughout history, she has stepped forward during moments of transformation, guiding the lost, protecting the marginalized, and illuminating the path forward for those willing to take it. So not only is Hekate in modern times most commonly associated with being the goddess of witches, Hekate is also known as the goddess of the crossroads, thresholds, and liminal spaces. What is a liminal space? A place that is either neither here nor there. It's the in-between place. So in ancient societies, these spaces were inhabited by those who had no fixed place, no homes. They were travelers, refugees, and the folks that society had exiled. Her shrines, which are called Hekateons, I think I'm saying that right, were placed at city gates, crossroads, and entryways because she is the protector of thresholds and those moving in between spaces, symbolically and literally. She exists at the edges of society, and this is where marginalized and disenfranchised folks find themselves a lot of the time. Hekate as the protector of the unseen and the forgotten. So in ancient Greece and Rome, status and wealth, kind of like now, determined your worth. Those without status, those that were poor, orphans, women, were largely invisible to society. And we're talking about ancient Greece, but we can see some similarities, if you will. Hekate, with her torches, was seen as the light bearer, okay, for those who were kept in the shadows, the marginalized, the disenfranchised, those that society has shunned and pushed to the outer edges. Her mythology includes rescuing Persephone from the underworld and guiding lost souls. She was the protector of those who wandered both in life and in death. So we're going over why she is the protector of the marginalized, disenfranchised, and the forgotten, those that are on the edges of society. So for the outcasts, Hekate is and was the deity who saw them, right? When nobody else did. Her role as psychopomp, which is the guide of souls, I do have a series on her epithet. So psychopomp is one of her epithets. And I'll put a card up here somewhere if you guys want to check out that series. So psychopomp as the guide of lost souls also meant that she cared for the spirits of those who had died without proper rites. Again, the forgotten and disenfranchised. And then we have the symbolism of her triple aspect, right? So Hekate is represented as the maiden mother crone, and this speaks to her understanding of the full spectrum of life and existence, from youth to motherhood / middle age and into old age. This cyclical understanding mirrors the lives of those who live on the margins, cycles of hope, despair, survival, and rebirth. The disenfranchised often experience life in waves. Okay, you've got security and then you've got instability. Then you're accepted and then you're exiled. Hecate's triple aspect symbolizes that she was with them at every stage, and she's with you at every stage if you are a devotee of her, as I am. So let's now get into Hecate as the goddess of witchcraft. And historically, witchcraft has been a means of empowerment for the powerless. So this ties back into last week's video where I was talking about if you feel like you have no power, if you are in the margins, if you are part of the groups that are oppressed and that it seems like the powers that be are trying to erase you, she's the goddess for you. So if you think that she's calling you, she probably is. That's what that video was about last week. Witchcraft and rebellion. It's to give us power when we seemingly have none. So let me just kind of back up here a little bit. So those who had no institutional power, women, poor, ancient times, we're talking also about slaves, but in today's society, it's not just women. If you're gay, bi, lesbian, trans, and everything in between, like, there's no power in the institution that we currently live in. Those that are part of those groups that are marginalized, that live on the edges, we often turn to magical practices to gain some kind of control over our lives, right? Hecate, as the patron of witches, became and has become the embodiment of rebellion and independence. To worship Hecate back then and now, in many ways, is an act of defiance against societal structures and the powers that be. Now, I'm kind of going over why she is the goddess of the outcasts, okay? So even in antiquity, Hecate was never fully embraced by the elite. Unlike Athena or Hera, Hecate was the goddess of the underdog. While aristocrats paid tribute to more mainstream gods for wealth, prosperity, the poor and the marginalized called upon Hecate for protection, justice, and survival. Okay. Her liminality allowed her to exist in spaces where others could not. She was not bound by Olympus, nor was she restricted to the underworld. So I might do a video on this, but in the things that I have read, Hecate was a Titan. So when Zeus declared war on the Titans and took over Olympus, he allowed Hecate to keep all of her dominion and all of her powers. So she is older than the gods of Olympus. Okay? So she's really not restricted to any one place or thing. And that is where her in-betweenness made her approachable for those who felt they didn't belong in any single place, right? So that's like kind of the ancient background and why she is the goddess of the marginalized, the disenfranchised, the folks that are on the edge of society, who are ignored by the powers that be. So now we're going to move into like our modern interpretation of her. So Hecate's call in modern times, there has been a recent resurgence of her worship, and that particularly among those that feel isolated, misunderstood, and disenfranchised. And I have heard this story so many times from so many people in the decade that I have been a devotee and have been talking to other devotees. Like, this is the main thing, one of the main themes, and how these people have felt, and myself also. Her energy is seen as a beacon for folks that have felt othered by society. All right, so the next thing that I'm going to talk about is like your empowerment through devotion. Invoking Hecate is often seen as an act of reclaiming your power for the disenfranchised. And I just want to stop right here and say that you don't have to be part of the disenfranchised as we traditionally think about it. But if you have been living in a place where you do not have power and you feel like she is calling you, she probably is. Use your discernment. She can help you reclaim your power. All right. Like I have mentioned before, and I am probably repeating myself, she is the goddess for these times because she represents both protection and fierce independence. She is also really big on sovereignty. Sovereignty is kind of independence. You are in charge of yourself. Nobody else is the boss of you. Okay, she's really big on that. And these are qualities that resonate with those who are on the edges of mainstream society. I'm deciding how deep to go with this and how much to share of my life because I am well aware that I sit in a position of privilege. I will share part of my story, and I've shared part of it before. When I decided to leave Christianity, I was searching because I have always been a very spiritual person. Hecate came to me right before I lost a job that I loved and was very well paying. Right before we knew that my dad was sick, and right before, because of the job loss, I had to move in with my parents. That is when Hekate found me. I had no idea who she was. None. I had heard her name maybe twice, and both of those times were in episodes of Buffy the Vampire Slayer. So she came to me and she called to me right before my life basically imploded. All right. And this is a story that I have heard a lot from a lot of people that have followed her, that she has come to them either right before or right in the middle of everything in their life exploding or imploding. And she helped me, and she still helps me to this day. I am not the same person I was 10 years ago. Like, most of us aren't, but I can see a very drastic change from who I was 10 years ago, what I believed, thought about myself and society in general, to what I believe now. So that's just kind of one example, but I also really strongly believe she is calling so many more people right now, and so many people who are kind of on the fringes, or society is trying to push out to the fringes, if you're following what I'm saying. I don't want to get too political. This is about Hecate, but also sometimes witchcraft is political. All right. I would really love to hear your guys' stories. I would love to hear how Hecate came to you, as much as you are willing to share, because I believe this when I was a Christian, and I believe it now. Our spiritual journeys are extremely personal, and no two people are going to have the same experience. You know, your experience with Hecate is going to be different than my experience with Hecate. But I would love to hear your guys' stories of where you were when she found you. And I would also love to hear what signs she gave you that she was calling you. And we can share our stories and start building community. I have created a bit of a guide. If anybody is interested, I'm going to leave the link down below in the description and also in a pinned comment. And what I have created is Hecate's Path. So if that's something that you're interested in, I priced it hopefully very affordable, but I also have, and I will put the link in the description and in a pinned comment below, I have a free, I think it's 3 or 4 pages of Hecate's Epithets for protection. So that is a free guide that I have created for you guys. And like I said, I'll put that link down below also. I also have a blog. These videos are going to be also blogs. If you want to read them, you can find that on my website, and I'll link to everything below. Thank you for watching this video and listening to me ramble on about Hecate and the Marginalized. If you are finding value in this content, it would be awesome if you could subscribe. My channel is growing. I just crossed over this week to over 500 subscribers, and I never ever thought that I was going to get here. So thank you everybody who has subscribed. I love you. I love everybody. If you want more content like this, please subscribe. I'm going to put some end cards up of some video series and playlists that you might be interested in. So check those out. And until next time, stay blessed and stay safe.